If you're spending hours on custom proposals, offering 4 or 5 different pricing options, trying to lock in color palettes and the exact flowers that you're going to use, you're actually training your brides to be incredibly price sensitive, to be the dictator of the work that you're creating, and it's going to be the biggest reason that you're going to get ghosted. And I know this because that was the exact approach that I followed for more than 500 wedding inquiries until I finally had my enough is enough moment and decided I had to find a better way. And it's so frustrating when you're getting inquiries, but they're not the $5,000 weddings that you want. You're consistently getting ghosted or being told that we went with somebody cheaper. And the only solution that any other florist seems to provide is here's my cute Canva proposal template, or you must invest in this really expensive, complicated, time-consuming software. But here's what nobody else is going to tell you. The problem isn't your proposals. It's not your templates. It's not that your work isn't good enough. It's not that your area is too competitive. It's not that you don't have enough Instagram followers. It's simply you're playing the wrong game. And today I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. If you're new to this little corner of the internet, hello, my name is Kathleen. And for years, I followed this approach with my wedding proposals. I did exactly what so many florists do. Custom proposals, face-to-face consultations, giving my clients lots of options, trying to lock in every single detail before I got that initial payment. And yes, I navigated 500 wedding inquiries until I finally remembered the good old saying of the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. Thank heavens for that day, because that day started to change everything in my business because my approach wasn't working. And since then, I have truly mastered this system. And it's not based on technology. You do not need any fancy software. You don't need to put together fancy proposals or buy somebody's cute Canva template. This is the same process I use in my business, but I have also taught this process to hundreds of florists around the world, and it works. It's simpler, it's faster, and actually gets you more of those $5,000 weddings that you want without you having to invest in that $3,000, $4,000 piece of software that the famous florists are pushing. By the end of this episode, you're going to understand exactly why your current process is sabotaging your sales, what the right game actually looks like, and the simple system that takes you from inquiry to booking in 2 emails. Now, let me guess. Your current inquiry process probably looks something like this. A new client sends you an email, or they fill in your contact form. You get super excited. You send them a response. They fill in some sort of super epic detailed questionnaire, or you jump straight to the let's book in a consultation. You think it has to happen face to face, and you block out at least an hour to make it happen, trying to find a time that works for you and that works for them. And as always, you bend over backwards to make the schedule work. Then, after your consultation, you spend 3 or 4 or 5 hours putting together that cute little Canva proposal. It's 10 to 12 pages long, and you finally get to the point where you're talking about pricing at the end of that proposal. And you give them at least 3 different pricing options. But you're also talking about color palettes, seasonal availability, you're giving them a mood board, you're breaking out all the pieces of the puzzle, because this is the process you think you're supposed to be following. Then you've invested all of your time and your energy and effort, and you send it over to them. And you're like, it's a shoo-in. I am totally going to get this client. We hit it off at the consultation. I'm giving her a discount for booking in early. I'm keeping my prices low. I've nailed in all the colors, and we've talked about flower choices. How could she not book with me? But then a day goes by, maybe a week goes by, and you either don't ever hear from that client again, or they send you the dreaded email of, we went with somebody cheaper. Then, if you're anything like me, you fall into a heap on the floor and your brain immediately kicks into the I'm not good enough, I mustn't be a good enough designer, I need a better shop front, I need more Instagram followers, I must need fancy proposals and another cute Canva template in order to make this work. Let me save you the years of frustration and angst and encourage you to skip past the whole I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough to figure this out, and let's get to the solution part. So many florists believe, and I also used to believe this, you need to give your clients options to specifically overcome the obstacle of being too expensive. You also believe that you have to lock in every single detail, including color palettes and the flower choices, in order to get them to pay that initial 25% fee. And most commonly, florists think we need to do a lot of convincing so that they'll pay the premium price. But that thought process is why we overinvest in software. We spend time on these fancy proposals that go nowhere, and we distract the entire point of that first stage of this consultation process. And the result is you're actually teaching your prospective clients that your prices are negotiable and that your time isn't valuable. We think we're just over-delivering. We think we're doing what we should to get the booking. But what's actually happening in your client's mind is that they're in the driver's seat of what you are creating. They're dictating the prices, and you feel like you are the servant in the master-servant relationship, which is also why you feel that weird graspy energy around, let me prove to you that my prices are worth it, versus the experience of you knowing you're the expert. You're going to lead your client through the decision-making process, and your only job is to make the next step clear. After those first few years in my business where I was banging my head against the wall doing the fancy proposals, thinking about investing in the fancy software, and finally recognizing that maybe after 500 wedding inquiries, I needed to find a better way, here's what I finally realized. Simplicity is what sells. And especially in our industry where your competition is going to be making things very complicated and very convoluted, you are going to separate yourself from the pack because you're focused on simplicity. The other benefit of simplicity is that it is the thing that frees up your time and energy. It is so easy to scale this system to have somebody else doing this work on your behalf, which is like the ultimate work smarter, not harder solution. Because the reality is the florists that are consistently booking $5,000 weddings aren't making their clients jump through 100 hoops. In fact, the reason that their close rate is so high, the reason that they are booking so many more $5,000 weddings is that they know exactly what they need to say. They know what their job is. They know that the price is never the reason that a customer won't buy. And their system is built on a relentless pursuit of simplicity. In actual fact, the florists that are booking more $5,000 weddings are doing way less than you are. So the answer isn't add more steps into the process. The answer isn't add more pages into your proposal document. The answer isn't I must need to do multiple consultations in order to get the booking. More is not the answer. And here's one of the best mindset shifts I've ever had in my business, and that is to flip the entire inquiry process on its head. So instead of making the work fit their budget, you're going to sit down ahead of time, decide your prices, and then you're going to tell your customer what their budget will get them. Instead of waiting until page 12 of your fancy proposal to answer the question of what will my budget get me, you answer it right away, and you actually answer that question before they even inquire. And instead of being flexible with your prices, instead of offering book now discounts, instead of trying to add in more bells and whistles, all you're going to do is you're going to give your clients two options in terms of budget. You're not going to overwhelm them with choice. You're not going to get bogged down in the details. You're not going to stress about color palettes. You're not even going to talk about seasonal availability until after they have booked you in. The thing to remember here is that your ideal customer doesn't need to be convinced. She's ready to find the right florist for her. She knows what her budget is. She knows that she needs to be flexible. And what she's looking for is expertise and clarity. All she wants to know is, how the heck does this whole wedding flower planning process work? Because I cannot find any valuable information on the internet. She wants to know, what will my budget get me? Because I'm getting conflicting advice, and I would like to know from an expert's point of view, who understands the vision I have for my big day, who understands what's possible at this venue, who understands how important flowers are for a wedding. I want to know that person's perspective on what my budget will get me. And then all I need to know, if you're the bride, is, okay, what do I need to do next? She's already in a pile of overwhelm. She's planning an entire wedding. She doesn't need more details. All she needs is clarity. And the best part is when you follow this strategy, the ripple effect is so real because the tire kickers, the brides that should be DIYing their wedding flowers, find their way out the door. The price shoppers disappear. The people that don't see value in your expertise, they don't bug you anymore. The brides who are looking for a creative partner that they can collaborate with. The brides who want to work with a seasoned floral designer and an expert who understands what it's like to be an overwhelmed, stressed out bride with a crazy mother-in-law. She shows up ready to book. She loves how simple you've made the entire process, especially in comparison to the other florists that she's talking to. And she's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for making this so easy and so straightforward. How do I pay you? So here's what this system looks like in reality. I want you to throw out the software. I want you to drop the fancy technology, and I want to come back to the absolute bare bones basics. Eliminate the 52 email sales sequence and the automated 14-day follow-up and the 21-day follow-up, and let's get back to a system that works. And again, we're going to double down on simplicity. Your goal is to go from initial inquiry to locking in the booking in 2 emails. That's how simple this gets to be. No 5 hours wasted on a fancy proposal, no mood boards, no talking about seasonal availability. We're going to throw out the rule book and we're going to get back to what sells so that you have a rinse and repeat system that works, that doesn't drain you, that doesn't make you burn the candle at both ends, and makes it so easy for you to book in and work with your dream clients. So email number 1, this is the email that you're going to send when somebody inquires. It's going to confirm that you're available on the big day and that you're really excited to work with these people. Then you're going to jump right into action and make sure that this new prospective bride has the tools that she needs at her fingertips so that she can make some empowered decisions. And this is where you're going to specifically link to resources that you have around answering the question of what is my budget going to get me and how the heck does this whole thing work? This is really about positioning yourself as the authority and the expert in your business, telling your customers and answering that question of we've got you covered, we understand that you're overwhelmed, we are here to help guide you through the process, and being very proactive about getting clear on the budget. In this first email, also make sure that there's a very clear call to action, because what you're going to get her to do next is give you all of the details about her big day and the vision, and then book in a 30-minute Zoom call. The best part about this approach is that it pre-qualifies every client that comes your way. So the people that are incredibly price sensitive won't move on to the next step in the process, which is a gift to yourself in terms of time. And for the people that want to take the next step, they feel so much more confident in working with you because you've made it crystal clear in terms of how the process works. The other thing that this process does is it helps your clients understand that you respect your time, but you also respect your client's time. Because most brides don't have time or don't want to necessarily set aside an hour plus travel time back and forth to just have an initial consultation, especially when those first questions of how the heck does this whole thing work and what will my budget get me? It's such a better strategy to wait and have those more in-depth conversations once you've got the booking. So your job here in this first stage is to simply define the scope of work. And the fastest way to do that is to have your clients fill out a detailed questionnaire and then get on Zoom for 30 minutes. This will help you build a personal rapport, really suss out whether they're a good fit for you, help you understand what matters to them, and get crystal clear in terms of what their ideal budget is and what's important to them on the day. I want you to think of this Zoom consultation like a first date. And it's as much about you getting a sense of who they are as it is about them understanding how you operate. Now, I know you're probably sitting there saying, Kathleen, 30 minutes on Zoom, that's not enough time. It is plenty of time because you're not going to be overwhelming them with color palette choices and talking about seasonal availability. You're going to give them permission to think about those things at a later date. Because truth be told, most brides will change their minds. So just give them permission to park all of the details until much closer to the date. On that consultation, this is very much a you taking charge vibe. You're not there to sell, you're not there to convince, you're not there to explain your pricing or defend or get all weird and graspy. Your only job on that Zoom session is to make sure that you understand the scope of the job. So you're asking questions like, tell me about your vision for the big day. What's important to you two? What doesn't matter to you two? You'll already have the information that they'll have filled out in that detailed questionnaire, so you know functionally how many bridesmaids, how many groomsmen, estimated number of guests, table configuration, what their big ass vision is from a flower perspective, so that you can jump right in. You know the details, you've done your homework. You can spend the first 5 to 10 minutes of that Zoom session really talking through the vision for the big day, building the relationship, understanding how they tick, what is their love story, what matters to them on the day, what don't they care about, how crazy their mother-in-law is. Then you can immediately jump into action mode, because what you're going to do on that Zoom call is you're actually going to talk about prices. You're going to talk about budgets, and you're going to give them a sense of what their budget is going to get them. You're going to nip it in the bud. You're going to embrace the discomfort. You're going to get all hot and sweaty and awkward and remind yourself that that's okay because this is just math. But giving them that sense of clarity directly on that Zoom call immediately separates you from the competition because they're going to be waiting at least 7, if not 14 days for all the other florists that they have talked to put together the cute proposal templates and software. And within 30 minutes, you will have already given them the clarity that they're craving. Then email number 2, once you're done that Zoom session, you're going to follow up within 24 hours of that Zoom call. You're going to send them a very simple email. No PDFs attached, no mood boards, no proposals, just a very simple note that says, hello, my favorite people on the planet. It was so great to connect with you as promised. Here's a quick summary of what we talked about and 2 different budget options for you to consider. It's clear, it's simple, it's professionally laid out. There's no overuse of exclamation points and emojis. And again, there's no attachments because your only job here is to define the scope of work. The call to action within this email simply says, we will hold your wedding date for 7 days. Please let me know which pricing option feels right to you two, and then I'll prepare the paperwork to lock it in. It's that simple. And when you follow this process, no longer are you stressing about getting ghosted because you're not over-investing in all of the upfront just to get the booking. You've also pre-qualified your clients. So if they don't want to fill in that detailed questionnaire, you know you don't have to do anything and you don't have to stress about it. And it's such a simple rinse and repeat system. And it really changed so many things in my business because if you think about how you're currently navigating proposals and new wedding inquiries, that's how your competition is probably doing things. So if you take this very simple, very streamlined approach, it's not complicated, it's not overwhelming, it's not time consuming for you or your clients. The best part is now your clients are comparing like apples and oranges. So that price doesn't even have to weigh into it. You can be 20 or 30% more expensive than your competition. But because of your speed of response, because you're so proactive in terms of talking about budgets, because your clients show up and think, who is this amazing human? They totally understand what it's like to be a completely overwhelmed, stressed out bride with a crazy mother-in-law. You are going to love it. You're going to be blown away by the results. And here's the thing that I want you to remember. This isn't just about getting more bookings. This is about taking control of your business. Because when you stop trying to play the price shopping game and I need to convince my clients that I'm worth it, and you step into that position of authority, own your expertise, and you recognize my only job is to give my clients clarity, you'll stop feeling guilty about your pricing. You'll stop wasting time with tire kickers who should be DIYing their flowers. You start attracting the good clients, the ones that value your expertise and your know-how, and you start making more money and becoming more profitable with way less effort. And the thing about this approach is that you can absolutely apply it to that fancy software if you have the fancy software, but it doesn't require you to make that leap, and it doesn't require fancy technology. It's such a simple system that's focused on your customers' needs and that opportunity that you have of just simply providing clarity, knowing that you are the one that is guiding and leading your clients to make a decision. And when you have that level of clarity, that's when you feel confident. You show up as a totally different business owner. You communicate in a completely different way, and your brides can feel that, which then compounds your confidence even more. So it becomes this incredible ripple effect simply because you realized, I understand the game that I need to play. I'm going to double down on simplicity. I'm going to own my authority, and I'm going to make it happen. So if you're sick and tired of banging your head against the wall, of being ghosted and constantly being told we went with somebody cheaper, take a deep breath. Remember, you are not alone. Simplicity is what sells. And the path to booking more $5,000 brides is not about adding more steps into the process. It's actually about paring it back to the bare bones basics. And if you found this video helpful, you might also find this video helpful. I walk you through my exact planning and pricing process for high-impact bridal bouquets. I even include my favorite recipe formula so that you can create work that has more impact and higher profits. And as always, thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.